Those of you that joined, thank you. We'll be getting started in about a couple minutes here. Thank you. Thanks for those that just joined. We'll be getting ready to start here in a couple minutes. Thank you.
All right, Bill, do you want to get started here? You're on mute, by the way.
Big thank you to all of you who have joined us today. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying your lunch. I'm going to start by handing over to our Vice President of Software Defined Data Center, Mike Mexico.
Thanks, Bill. And don't forget to hit record, right? So welcome, everyone. Really excited to have everyone here today. We're talking about collaboration, COVID-19, and the new normal. And my new normal, as you can see, looks like I'm in the witness protection program, is sitting outside in my patio because I have a small house and kids are getting taught inside right now by their mom, and being on a lot of WebEx calls, a lot of collaborations calls. So, today we're going to talk about collaboration. This is brought to you by, this is a correlation of Entisys360, Cisco, Citrix, and Mio. And I am Mike Mexico, like I said. I run our software-defined data center practice at Entisys360. You also have Kevin Hadid and Brian Capricci. Sorry, guys, if I'm butchering names, my bad. That's going to be talking about emerging collaboration trends and Cisco's viewpoints on what's happening with collab. Bill Cousins, who first kicked off here, we'll be talking about from the Entisys360 standpoint of COVID-19 and the new normal, right? And what we're all dealing with as business and as human beings as well. To top it off as well, we have Al Solorzano. He's our Vice President of End User Computing. If you guys have been on a lot of these before, he's run a lot of these webinars from a end user computing perspective. So he'll be talking about Citrix and the remote workforce and what he's seeing trends there. To close it out, we'll have questions and answers, but honestly, if you have questions, put them into the panel, and Thomas, Server, and Betta Jane from my team will be trying to answer everything they can through the question and answer portal. And if anything happens or if it comes up, we'll do it at the very end as well. So don't be shy. Continue on, ask questions as we go through this, and we'll get your questions answered. If there's anything we need to do, we can't answer by the end of this, we'll follow up in emails to you. So thank you very much. All right. So Entisys360, we're award-winning IT consulting specialized in development and delivery of advanced IT infrastructure, virtualization, DevOps, automation, cloud, cyber. So we're a very special company. We're about 160 employees across California. Our headquarters is in Concord, California. I reside out of the Southern California office, which is in Irvine. Right now, I'm in LA at my home office. We do a lot of things great in the industry. I'd say my team and the people that we have here are very special, and they know and love IT in general. So most of you probably know us already, but those who don't, I suggest you reach out to your reps, and we can continue that conversation as well. So solutions of expertise, I've already spoke a little about end user computing. So think of VDI, published desktops, on-prem or in the cloud. That's our our bread and butter. That's where we were birthed as a company. That is something that we have a team of engineers that know very, very well. My team is software-defined data center. So think hybrid cloud, server storage, networking, collaboration, build out of greenfield data centers, brownfield data centers, disaster recovery. Anything around data center and hybrid cloud is what my team specializes in. We also have a DevOps and automation. So that team obviously is dealing a lot with programming, automating, cloud items, things like that. And our newest team, we have a cyber risk security team. So CISOs for hire, pen testing, really deep knowledge of security, and some very experts in the field. Even though we're different teams, we do work a lot together, and everything we design and the solution from end to end, all the way from end user computing all the way down to security, we keep security in mind. So yeah, that's it for that there. Cool. So our collaboration practice is probably our newest, besides security, but the team that we have has over 75 years of UC and collaboration experience. They've all the way from the SMB to large multinational enterprises. All of them are top level engineers. All of them do pre and post sales. They know this field very well and have worked and done some very large projects. So if you see here, outstanding implementation skills, strong background at capability, and skillful managed services to optimize. So we actually do offer managed services around unified communications and collaborations, and Bill will get into that a little bit more later on. So, all right, Bill, next slide. So now I'm going to pass it over the ball to Cisco to talk about the human-centric approach to transforming your workplace. So go ahead, Kevin and Brian, take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Guys, my name is Kevin Haddad. I'm Partner Business Development Manager in collaboration here in California. And then I've got the smart guy, Brian Caparici, is my TSA. So before I get into this, I just want to give a little bit of background of a little company called WebEx. So 20 years ago, actually May of 2000, I was the, 15th salesperson at this little company called WebEx. And somebody said, hey, you could show what's on your screen in Boston on their screen, and you can look at it in real time. I said, wow, that's really interesting, right? And you look at kind of where things are today. And back then, 20 years ago, WebEx was switching voice, video, and data in real time. And at that time on dial-up networks, if you can believe that, right? So in 2007, Cisco bought WebEx for $3.2 billion, the second largest acquisition in Cisco's history, okay? And when they did that, they bought one of the biggest cloud providers out there, right? So all the way back then, if you think about cloud, you think about Cisco as a hardware company, right? In 2007, they immediately got clout around cloud because they bought the WebEx platform, and WebEx was switching more voice, video, and data than anybody at that time, and we still are by far, right? And so I really want you to think about that as we kind of go into this presentation here. And Entisys360, as you can see, we're utilizing the platform here. And Bill will kind of show you how he's got it actually streaming out to YouTube live. So we got a lot of capabilities here. And I think one of the biggest things to understand about this whole transforming your workplace is, this deck is a little bit dated, but we've been talking about this for years. And guess what happened in the last 5 months? Everybody's trying to figure out how to do this, right? So I'll get into that a little bit more. Let's get to the next slide, and we'll have Brian Caparici talk a little bit about the security and really why Cisco WebEx is different than everybody else out there. So go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Privacy is a fundamental human right, and we at Cisco need security and transparency to protect it. So Cisco's security principles are that Cisco is committed to the privacy of your data. Cisco by security is by design and by default on all of our products. And transparency is that we're transparent about security. Next slide, please. And with that, we have the Cisco Data Protection Program, which is really a process built on 7 tenets of policies and standards, identification and classification, data risk assessments, incident response, which is what PCERT is, oversight and enforcement, awareness and education, and security and privacy by design. Back to you, Kev.
Thanks, Brian. And guys, why is that important, right? So Cisco was built, WebEx was built with security in mind. It wasn't an afterthought. Our Teams application, our calling application, our web conferencing application, our video endpoints are all built on our platform with our hardware secured by our infrastructure. So you guys all know what's happened over the last couple of months here. A lot of stuff's come out of the woodwork on, people utilizing different products out there, and a lot of embarrassing and also, a lot of possible lawsuits, things like that happening because people really didn't research what platform they were using, and there were some challenges out there. So, we built our stuff from the ground up with security in mind, and our entire platform is built on that. So as we move into this workforces, we're talking about workforce are changing. Again, it's just so crazy. I look back, these slides are a couple months old now, and look where we've gone, right? So you got to have that mobility. You got to have agile teams. People are working from home. I've been doing this forever. I'm sitting in my home office, but I've got friends who are like, gosh, how do you do that? Like, how do we communicate? How can we have a secure environment where we can utilize this? Hey, Kevin, can I get WebEx set up? How do I do it? Go to webex.com, start a free trial, work with your church on it, whatever you want to do. So this has been kind of the reality for, I think, a lot of the consumer, but from a business quality, secure environment, Cisco WebEx is still the leader in the space, right? And we are built across the board to make sure that we've got that. Go ahead to the next slide there, Bill. And again, we talk about that changing workforce. Keep building that out for me, Bill, please. And companies are adapting, right? So you've got that agility, that customer engagement. You've got to attract and retain the talent. So you've got millennials that are coming into the workforce. We keep talking about all this, but it doesn't matter now. Everybody had to learn how to use this stuff. Everybody had to learn how to work from home. The millennials sped it up, but COVID really sped it up, right? So you think about 1.25 trillion being spent on digital transformation. This was 2019. This is tripling, right? So go ahead and go to the next slide, Bill. And again, because of what's happened, right? So here's the challenge, though. So you got all this money being spent, and yet only 16% of the people say they're seeing gains. Because people are confused. I can't get in the meeting. I can't do this. It's not working. I've got this older product that's not working with. How do I get all this stuff to work? I'm trying to get my calling working with my video conferencing, working with my web conferencing. I've got 5 different components that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to use Slack. I got Microsoft Teams. I got a Polycom thing over in the corner. Entisys360 can come in and look at what you've got for your collaboration portfolio. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Bill. And say, look, we can really minimize all this stuff for you. The problem is you've got all these different applications. Wait, go back one, Bill. The problem is you have all these different applications, right? One more, Bill. Thanks. And you've got people disconnected from each other because you got 50 million different apps that people are trying to use. You've got different security policies on each one of these applications. So again, I think it's really imperative if you're looking at, hey, I'm looking at an old PBX. I want to move my stuff to the cloud. What am I going to do for that? Cisco is the leader in calling. Our Cisco Unified Communications Manager is still, 60% of that market that's on-prem is still Cisco, right? And now with our WebEx calling platform, with our cloud calling platform, with Entisys to come in and help you guys understand what that looks like, we can take you to the cloud. We can maybe say, hey, maybe move some of it to the cloud from a hybrid perspective, right? So we have a lot of different ways that you as the customer can say, hey, I need to move this application. I need to move this workload. We can do it all at once. We can do it in individual hybrid, a lot of different ways, but you're talking about your messaging, your calling, your meeting, your contact center, your conferencing, your video conferencing, one platform, one application, looks the same across all the different platforms that you're using, so your end user is not confused. And really, I think we've got a fantastic story to tell here. And we've just been really taking a lot of these disparate applications in other companies and combining them into one platform and a lot of happy customers. Okay, next slide. And then you can build this out. So again, transformation success, increased profits, customer satisfaction, innovation. Your teams are happier. Pretty quick return on that investment, and making sure everybody can utilize the products, right? So we talk about this human-centered approach. Cisco always was trying to not always, but we were trying to maybe do things in a silo. Not anymore. We were building bridges. So if you've said, hey, we're on Teams, we spent a ton of money on Microsoft Teams, Fine, that's fine. But what are you using for your calling? What are you using for your conferencing? What are you using for your video? We are fully integrated into Teams. And Bill's going to show you that, where you can even start a WebEx call from your Microsoft Teams application. We'll get into that. Go ahead to the next slide. So WebEx delivers that kind of human-centric experiences from the employees and the customers. Next slide, Bill. And I think we've got that kind of very robust look and feel across all the different applications, across your cell phone. I've got my Teams app on my cell phone. I do WebEx on my cell phone, right? We've got our phones, which are bulletproof Cisco Unified Communications Center that we can now take to the cloud. You've got that middle endpoint right there, which we call a DX80, which is a great high-resolution endpoint for your huddle room or for your, for your office as an executive. And then you can see that WebEx board, that's an 80-inch WebEx board, full collaboration capability, whiteboard capability, 4K cameras in it, and all of this stuff works on that same platform, so you can transition seamlessly, right, from that mobile to your home office. And once we start opening up again, maybe to that larger, conference room or huddle room, again, one platform to bring all this stuff together, integrated with Outlook for your calendaring, integrated with iCalendar, integrated with Google Calendar, right? Totally seamless. Next slide, please, Bill. So if you think about that modular, personalized, and configurable application, calling, meeting, messaging, and Teams tools. So maybe you got Slack, maybe you're using Microsoft Teams, and then you're using Polycom, then maybe you've got Zoom for your conferencing, and then maybe you've got an old PBX for your calling. Guys, Entisys can come in, look at that with you, consolidate everything, probably help you save a ton of money in the process, and have one modularized, personal, configurable application. Our WebEx Teams app is spectacular. Again, built from the ground up. Microsoft having a lot of challenges coming from Skype and then moving into Teams, and then having, if you want to communicate with somebody outside of your channel, very difficult to do. Again, Cisco's got end-to-end encryption built into that Teams application. I can go right from my Teams app into a calling app, take that calling app, escalate that into a WebEx, and then maybe even pull in the video endpoints all from one spot. So you've got full capabilities to enter into the contact center, all the APIs and SDKs, fully integrated into Salesforce Lightning. So Entisys can come in and Bill can look at what you guys have, where you want to go, and we can help you get there. And Cisco WebEx, one application to take care of all of that for you. Call, meet, message, devices, contact center. Next slide, Bill. So again, your work style, your workflows, your workspace. I mean, I'm in this every day. I'm on my Teams app constantly, contacting with my partners, with their customers, with my internal teams. A really, really incredible, experience. If you guys haven't done it, we can help you with it. We can Bill can spin up a free trial where we can turn on Enterprise WebEx. We can turn on the calling for you. You can really see how this can help you within your organization streamline that collaboration portfolio. And maybe you did go up and sign up for something free. You had to get stuff going. We get it. But now you can come in and take a true look at this from a secure environment and kind of, I think, really understand where Entisys can help you with that Cisco WebEx portfolio. Next slide, please. So again, that work style, okay? Voice assistant, and we're taking this to the next level. Facial recognition. Eventually, we can go back into our offices. You'll be able to walk in. That DX80 or that big, screen WebEx board will say, "Hey, Kevin, which meetings would you like to start today?" I said, "Well, that's great. I'd like to start my meeting with Entisys360, and boom, it will come up. People insights, pulling in cognitive collaboration, pairing and sharing. All this stuff is being built in. And I think our artificial intelligence capability within the WebEx platform is spectacular. We did buy a company to be able to do all of our back-end transcripting. We are now integrating that fully into the WebEx platform. It can transcript into different languages. It's all HIPAA compliant, all that type of stuff. And again, Bill and the team at Entisys can come in and help you understand what you're looking for and give you guys some of those demos to see where we are with the artificial intelligence. It's incredible. Next slide. So again, that workflow goes faster when the collaboration is integrated. So this is what I was talking about before. We're fully integrated in all these productivity tools and continue to add. So Dropbox, Salesforce, Microsoft Teams, Workday, all that stuff, fully integrated, full open APIs, building bridges, not silos. Next slide. And again, being able to easily move that workspace, right, from your on-prem inside the building, and to your mobile, to your spaces, to now this kind of next generation of what that mobile workplace is going to look like. Again, natively enhancing all the third-party applications with no bridges, building those capabilities. Entisys can come in. Bill's going to show you some of that stuff, help you link all those disparate applications together so that your end user has one easy collaboration portfolio to utilize, not trying to do all these different things and getting frustrated, not trying to get a meeting started and they can't get the video component to work, all that type of stuff. One button to push, one easy application for you guys to be able to utilize. Next slide. And Bill, I think we might be at the end there actually. Yeah, so that is a quick overview. The WebEx banner is across the board now. No more different stuff. We're trying to simplify it. WebEx calling, WebEx meetings, WebEx messaging, WebEx endpoints, WebEx video conferencing, right? All on one platform, easy to use, easy to manage, on one control hub. So those of you that are out there that are the admin folks, or you guys are the IT folks, you got one pane of glass that'll help you manage all of these different applications, calling, meeting, messaging, everything from one spot. So with that, Bill, I will shoot it back over to you. And I do want to say, Entisys and Bill and team, these guys know the WebEx platform, the capabilities, the integrations extremely well. And so, even them doing their, Bill is driving this meeting today. I am not. I'm just coming in as a panelist. So, Entisys knows their stuff. They've got the collab certifications with Cisco and can help you with where you want to go with your collaboration portfolio as you continue to move into this new normal, continue to move into the cloud.
Kevin, Brian, guys, thank you so much. And there's a lot to unpack and a lot to think about there. But let's look at kind of how that works. COVID-19, the new normal. Environment, case studies, applications. Let's dive in. COVID-19 has changed a lot of what we're looking at. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about how this has actually led into the new normal. And we'll look specifically at a couple of case studies where this is directly applied in the last 2 months. And then we'll actually have a look at some of this stuff. We won't just talk about it, we'll show it and we'll play with it. It'll be good fun. So let me talk a little bit about our collaboration practice. First of all, we've got deep roots and experience in traditional on-premise collaboration. We know where everybody in the collaboration market is coming from. We've got 2 CCIEs on staff. We've got Cisco Unified Call Manager, or Communication Manager, as we call it now, experience, deep Unity experience, great configuration experience for the on-premise collaboration experience. We're collaboration infrastructure experts, but we also have the network. We also have the servers. We have storage. We've got all the blades in the Swiss Army knife. And that gives us a unique opportunity to not just say, oh, you need to bring in this, you need to bring in that. We can bring it all together for you. We also have deep experience in contact center. And with COVID-19, contact center is going to become one of the most rapidly changing new aspects of collaboration. And when you need to take your existing on-premise environment and extend out into the cloud or out into people's houses or out into your employees' houses, we have strong experience with remote access and expressway. But as everything is accelerated forward, we are Cisco cloud frontrunners. We have experience that just as Kevin was one of the first salesmen from WebEx, I was actually one of the first people to work with WebEx Connect and WebEx after Cisco acquired it. WebEx calling is the new cloud PBX that allows you to take everything that you had on premise, put it in the cloud, go forward facing. And WebEx Contact Center, again, being one of the fastest changing aspects of collaboration, is right along with it. And we are remote infrastructure experts. We know that you can't live in a silo anymore. We know Link, Skype for Business, Teams. We know that you can't live in a silo anymore. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And we know where some of you are still coming from, that you're trying to get value out of your PBX systems. And we know how to work with those and how to move those in the future. And of course, messaging and cross-platform integration. We'll talk about that in just a bit. So COVID-19 has created a nationwide lockdown. It's created work from home. Most of you are at home now looking at this. It has taken the processes and applications and infrastructure that we were thinking about 3, 4, 5 years from now and made it now. We've started working with Zoom, which has become the commoditization of a small, medium, and business conferencing. It's become basically the new personal Skype, but it's not up to enterprise prime time. There's security issues, there's scalability issues. And so what we want to do is think about WebEx, which is true enterprise class. It has the full security, it has the full underwrite. And Cisco, bless them, has actually taken this to heart. When COVID-19 came, they invested $100 million plus in infrastructure to increase the resiliency and capability of the WebEx network, and it shows. We think about telephony. We had office-based PBX systems and premise-based voice over IP. We know that in the short term, you need to extend that and get your investment protection. But we also know that there's no longer an office to walk down across a couple of cubes and tap somebody on the shoulder. Messaging is the new version of that, and we can't live in a silo. Microsoft Teams, Slack, WebEx Teams, real-time messaging has moved from nice to have and isn't it good to absolutely critical. This is where the grassroots collaboration between people happens now. And this is extending. This is not just now. The COVID-19 emergency is not over, first of all. Second, it is my belief, and I think a lot of us share this, that the workplace has likely changed permanently. Going forward, experts see that 30–40% of the workforce will be remote. Don't just take my word for that. Feel free to Google search. I left a bunch of links on the right. I'm not advocating that you check any of these links out unless you want to, but just Google search the new normal and COVID-19 and remote working, and you'll see that we've actually got new effective models. We now have a dispersed workforce, and we have to take this into account. Technologies that we were thinking about 3, 4, 5 years from now, we have to think about now. Also, not everybody's going to be in a Microsoft monoblock. Not everybody's going to be in a Cisco monoblock. There is a demand for us all to break out among the silos and work together in all of the collaboration elements. Conferencing, WebEx conferencing like we have now, messaging, again, that's how you tap somebody on the shoulder, and telephony, contact center, making sure that our contact center is fully compliant. And we actually have solutions in cloud recording that we make sure that we not only think about HIPAA, FERPA, et cetera, compliance, but we think about how to put that out in the cloud and make it fully cloud capable instead of a piece at a time. So how did this work? How does this work in the real world? In the last 2 months, we've worked with a major professional sports franchise, somebody who the league they're in starts with national, household name. And basically when COVID-19 struck and they were locked down, they had no office anymore. So not only did they have no TV revenues, not only did they have no attendance revenues, but money and revenue and income was absolutely essential. But their sales staff couldn't work in the office. There was no office. The solution for that was WebEx calling. So what we did is collaboratively, we worked in less than 48 hours. We stood up an instant trial. We attached it to the PSTN with rapid direct dial numbers so that they could work. We worked together with the IT staff, said, what have you got now? Let's replicate it out in the cloud. And the second day, we actually got real agents, real salespeople from the organization to go out and test this, show that it worked. This gives them the breathing room. Get them out, get them on their own computers, get them with their own headsets. And then during that time, we can get hard phones, we can get advanced headsets, we can professionalize them so we get rapid response, but follow-up consolidation. And it's just been a tremendous success going forward. We also have another case that we looked at with a major West Coast hospital group based in Southern California. When COVID-19 struck, they had 2 key audiences that they had to talk to. And one audience was very privileged. They had to have clinical communications. These are all HIPAA bound We're talking about cases with personally identifying information that had to be rigidly controlled. But also, you had all the employees that were not clinical, and we know how many of those exist and how many of those people are important to all of us in dealing with COVID. Tens of thousands of people. So we needed not only to talk to in a privileged manner and control the conversations with the clinical staff, we also needed widespread simplex transmission out to the thousands of folks who worked for the hospital group to let them know what was going on so they could plan, so that they could manage. The solution was WebEx events and live streaming. We were able to do full provision in less than 24 hours. Immediate capacity for 3,000 of these clinical attendees in a WebEx event like we see now, with a strict password, with panelists to help control and manage, and the ability to record and distribute to people who aren't there. Real-time panelist teaming to help manage the meeting just like we have now. And when we actually looked into the streaming world, a large corporate organization has a social media presence. Social media has gone from nice to have to critical. We're able to integrate into the social media environment, either using Facebook Live or YouTube Live. So one of the things that we thought we'd do today for you is live stream this meeting. This is applicable to both events and meetings. It works with Facebook Live. Now, I don't want to use Facebook Live today because my own personal Facebook page is probably not terribly professional. It's not bad, but it's not terribly professional. But we wanted to work with YouTube Live because we can share a link with you. And if you all look at this right now, and Thomas is going to paste this in the chat box, feel free to grab this link and look at it right now, because this is happening as we speak. It's about a 15 to 30 second delay, and I'm going to mute the sound here. It's about a 15 to 30 second delay from what you talk about that processes through YouTube's network. But as you can see, this is using YouTube's network. This is a live URL. Can you imagine the scalability that you have here, wanting to talk to thousands of people?
Great job on that, Bill. And we've had tons of customers say we need to do an entire, 10,000 people, right? And that would get very costly if you were to try to do that in a regular just licensing for a regular conferencing with any conferencing provider out there. So great job that you've been able to put this together so quickly, Bill, and be able to push it out. This is a huge advantage. So great job.
But let's not stop there. Let's look now at breaking out of those monolith silos. We said we'd talk about that some. Well, we're going to talk about that and show it right now. And I'd like to introduce Joe Butler to you. So Joe, this is your unmute warning. Tell us a little bit about Mio and the work that we've done together and the work that you do.
Of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Butler, Director of Customer. Thanks for having me to introduce our new Universal Channels product. Mio Universal Channels is the bridge between WebEx Teams, Microsoft Teams, and Slack. We use the platform APIs to federate messaging in channels or spaces for both cross-platform and cross-company communication. The problem we address in the market is that while modern collaboration platforms like WebEx Teams and Microsoft Teams have enabled you to communicate in real time with all of your colleagues, the lack of native federation means most people still have to resort to email for communicating with customers or other external partners. We know that WebEx Teams will continue to deliver all messages between all WebEx users, making this like the local area network. Microsoft Teams will also eventually deliver messages between all Microsoft Teams users, creating their own local area network. Our vision is to build the wide area network that connects all of the business messaging platforms. In this case, each company would then become a node on that network. Our focus is on messaging, so no voice or video, and we support all of the messaging-based features that you would expect to see. You can install Mio Universal Channels for free on our website at m.io. We are a Cisco partner and listed on the GPL through Solutions Plus. And I'm happy to answer any questions in the comments, or you can reach me directly at joe@m.io. And hand off back to Bill for the demo.
So let's actually do this. Let's not just talk about it. So what I've got set up, and I'm just going to hide everything here. I'm going to show you at the top left corner, we've got Slack running. The bottom left corner, you'll see WebEx Teams running. And at the bottom right corner, we'll see Microsoft Teams running. And I'm just going to go pull up my universal channel here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type a message in here in WebEx Teams and share it with everybody. And as you see, this pulls up real time in Slack to the top left and Microsoft Teams to the bottom right. And this works the other way around. Let's go ahead and in fact, I'm going to invite some of my panelists. Any of you who want to go in and put anything in the universal channel, because this isn't just me. And just watch all of this popping up. This works for communications. This works for file sharing. So we're not just talking about, we are walking the talk here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to preempt the next slide. We'll show you the next slide in a second. But let's have a Teams focus. I'm going to put Teams center stage right now. And we already know that we have the capacity. And if you don't already know, I'm more than happy to talk to you about it in a separate conversation about starting and managing WebEx meetings direct from inside Microsoft Teams. But why don't we have a look at using WebEx Teams for calling? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the WebEx calling sub app in Microsoft Teams that you see right here. And I'm going to grab my cell phone out here. And I'm going to place a WebEx call. This is attached to the PS10. Automatically invokes WebEx Teams. Here's my call. I'm going to answer it briefly and get some horrible feedback going. I'm going to hang up. And notice how immediately it returns right back into your Microsoft Teams interface. Go to my Teams. Let's see if anybody has corresponded to me on Mio. They have. That's awesome. And let's return back to our presentation. So what I'm going to do is, now that we've talked about this, I am going to hand the ball to Al Solorzano, who is our Vice President of End User Computing. Al, this is your unmute warning. Take it away, sir.
We're good. All right. Thanks, Bill. Go ahead and click on to the next slide for me. So for everybody, oh man, that QR code got jacked up. I don't know what happened over there in the presentation. We've been putting on at Entisys360 in the end user computing team quite a few presentations around everything we're doing with Citrix for delivering desktops within Azure, integrating with companies for hyperconverged infrastructure. I'll make sure that the link goes out correctly, because the idea was that you were going to be able to scan that QR code to go ahead and review the recordings that are already out there. So we'll get to that a little bit later. I think you can go to Entisys360.com/events and click on past events, and you'll see that list there too. So my content is really pretty short around Citrix's history. Everyone knows kind of where Citrix is coming from, only because a lot of you have been attending a lot of our webinars already. We're going to be focusing a little bit more on the future and where we see the technologies going and what Citrix is doing to deliver the new workforce and optimizing workflow and experience. We'll talk about a case study, and if we get a moment, we'll go into some presentation. Sorry, I didn't update that last piece there with what we're going to be talking about for the content. Jump over, Bill, next one. So like I said, this is the Citrix in the past. A lot of COVID response for a lot of our customers was just basically using more of what you already had, right? So if you're already leveraging virtual applications or virtual desktops with Citrix, a lot of customers were just like, hey, just keep doing that. We did have some customers for any number of reasons that tried to expand with the VPN solutions. They ran into issues. The VPNs didn't necessarily address everything, right? That's great. You got the machine on the network, but now there's device management. There was security of personal PCs. We had customers that were trying to ship out a whole bunch of laptops at the last minute and try to identify who needs laptops and who doesn't. Data and drive encryption, performance, all those things are still concerns with VPN. So again, because of all our other Citrix customers already had a built-in solution, they just used more of it. So it solved a lot of their issues, right? So it's device agnostic, whether the user had a Mac at home, Chromebooks, didn't matter. Allowed them to have access to applications, their desktops and their files. It's low bandwidth and high latency tolerant. So for customer or for the end users that had now everyone doing Zoom meetings and WebEx meetings and everything else for their kids, plus someone's watching Disney Plus or Hulu at the same exact time, their Citrix connections were working perfectly fine. And none of that data needs to leave the data center. So that was definitely a benefit for them, along with integrating SaaS-based applications and a lot of hybrid cloud use cases for our customers. So that's Citrix's background. It's very strong. It's what we've been doing for a long time. It's what our customers have been doing and leveraging for a long time. And so it's something we want to make sure that we kind of show off as this is the status quo. Now, if you go ahead and click next one, Bill. This is kind of what we're seeing as the future trends. Bill, you already mentioned a couple of customers that were already out there, whether it's Microsoft, Google, Facebook, in this case, Twitter, even talking about their work from home initiatives, right? So those are all coming out, right? That is the new workforce. I'm trying to avoid the new normal, but it's the new workforce that we're all dealing with. And I thought there was an interesting presentation and blog article that was talking about 43% of Americans are now saying that they would rather work from home based upon even when the economy is reopened. But what we're seeing from our customers is kind of a multi-phased approach right now to the new workforce. Phase one, which was basically somewhat, for the most part, completed, which is the reaction phase, right? It was mostly about a capacity thing, getting them access to the tools and getting users on the system as quickly as they possibly could. However, we're now moving into more of the phase two, and it's in progress, which is kind of more about optimizing IT. So we're having a lot of conversations about the user's experience. How do we make it a little bit better? We reacted, we got them access, but it's not necessarily the best thing that we could have done. We just made a short-term decision. So we're looking at management tools. We're looking at the security of the solutions now, adding on new capabilities, looking at reporting tools, and leveraging those kind of capabilities to try to optimize that IT experience. And then now we're probably also going to start going into a little bit more of a phase three for some of our customers, or customers are going to start looking at that, and which is optimizing the business. So now you're looking at, well, what does the business now look like when you have everybody remote? What's the employee experience? How do we retain employees when we don't even get to see them in the offices any longer? We don't even know how many hours they're working necessarily. And how can we be cost efficient as an organization, right? Hybrid multi-cloud, office space, automation, and everything else. So those are just some trends that we're seeing. We're having these conversations. Every customer is in a different spot in this scenario, but we're going to kind of, I think we're going to see customers going through a lot of these particular scenarios. So jump forward. So let's give you one example of a customer who is in that process. This is a large healthcare, different than the one that Bill was mentioning earlier. This is a customer that already had a heavy utilization of Citrix virtual applications and desktops and the ADC or the NetScaler product set. They increased their usage, so that was number one. Also, from a reaction perspective, they leverage Citrix's remote PC technology. If you haven't seen that, you can do a quick little Google search for it. What that allowed them to do is to basically bridge the gap of kind of giving people remote access to desktops, but not necessarily having them be virtual machines. They were getting brokered directly to their physical PC that was already sitting in underneath their desk. So they didn't necessarily have to be retrained or reconfigured. IT didn't have to go add more capacity. But in the meantime, same customer is also looking to bridge to Azure and also has added a lot of hyper-converged infrastructure, again, as it made sense as they see fit. So that was their reaction, right? They just very quickly were able to respond. They had a solution. It was something already very strategic to their workforce, but it wasn't necessarily scaled out completely. And so they already had that solution in place. Currently, right now, they're going through the optimization phase. They're looking at increasing their capacity with Azure for non-clinicians to be more cost efficient, who needs access to what and where, basically going through that process. And they also have already started asking us those questions about how to optimize the business even further. Do clinicians need to be in the office every day? Can we save money with remote workers? How do we optimize workflows? And that's really what we're going to be focusing on today. Again, because we've been focusing a lot in the past on virtual apps and desktops, we're going to be talking about automation workflows and try to create a better user experience. So jump forward, Bill. So let's talk about optimizing the business. So if you look at the number of applications that your users typically have, they have a whole bunch of applications. And realistically, they probably only leverage just a couple of them. So Bill, why don't you click twice real quick for me? There we go. Right? It's just like this multifunction printer. Though we give them this really big application. Here's Salesforce. Here's the entire Office suite. Realistically, they're using that one green button, and that's probably the majority of their work. And only certain types of users actually leverage all the other capabilities of that solution, right? But it's something that as an enterprise, you may have invested in a technology that is an enterprise solution, but you're only leveraging a very small portion of that. So I think that's a pretty big problem for a lot of businesses, especially as mobile devices, more SaaS-based applications start to get developed, even internally or as a service. Go ahead and click, Bill. So this is the problem in short term, right? There's too many apps, probably too little usage. There's a lot of searching, looking around for types of, where's my data? Where's this going? What's going on? And it's just really creating a lot of complication for your users. So this is something that Citrix wants to address with some of their newer technology. One more, Bill. So what we're going to be showing a little bit is the new Citrix Workspace, right? It's really around optimizing the user experience. It already integrates your virtual applications and desktops. It already integrates with Citrix Files, which is also known as ShareFile. But really what we're going to be focusing on today is the micro application services, or known as actions, that you see on the right-hand side. So the concept of micro apps is to streamline some users' activity, reduce context switching, right? The multiple times that you're flipping between applications and trying to remember where was I trying to go with this. Reducing onboarding costs, right? So if you don't have to necessarily train somebody fully on the entire Workday suite for them to do their job, and you can say, look, 90% of your job is really these 3 actions. Let me see if I can bring that to the forefront with Citrix Workspace and the intelligence that the actions can provide. Provide an integrated search, virtual assistants, and go from there. So go ahead and click on, Bill.
And Elle, would you like me to give you the share?
That was going to be my next request.
You have the ball, sir.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share. All right, you should see my screen, correct, Bill?
Looking good.
Perfect. So Citrix micro applications leverage Citrix Cloud. What you're looking at right now is the management console for the micro apps solution. You can see I already have some integrations that I'm going to show off in a demo in just a moment. Jira, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Workday, which are very common SaaS-based applications. You can create your own integrations with your own applications that you have, but Citrix has also developed some very common templates for some of the applications that are out there. So they got G Suite, Google Analytics, Power BI, Salesforce, we already showed, SAP. These are just going to be continued to develop from the Citrix perspective, but this kind of workflow allows you to integrate with all of these SaaS-based applications that are already out there. So I'm going to show you 2 demo environments. One's got the Citrix Files component, and one has the actions for the micro applications. So this is the new version of Receiver. I'm currently using the web-based version, but the same thing would recur from Citrix Receiver, or now called Citrix Workspace. Sorry about that. Lots of naming conventions. So what you're seeing here right now is kind of a little bit like a Facebook type of feel in terms of taking a lot of the things that normally would have required me to log into Workday or log into ServiceNow to see what my tasks are for that particular day, and go ahead and learn ServiceNow, authenticate, probably with SSO, that's fine, but it's still I have to go learn that application or how to get around to do some of those tasks. If I can take 90 to 95% of the most common tasks, such as approvals, rejections of those approvals, maybe even submitting tickets through systems. If I can bring that to a common console and a common platform, that's going to make it a lot easier for my users because they don't have to go learn every single thing. They may not even have to ever log into ServiceNow because I can actually expose a lot of those components to them through this through these micro applications capabilities. And you can see they're interactive, right? So I have an approval button, I have a rejection button, so we'll just go ahead and approve that one. You'll see I'll get a notification that it's been approved and it moves on, and I can go about the rest of my day. Typically, this would have required me to log into ServiceNow, do that task, come back over into this experience, and then get on with the rest of my work. But all that is brought up through the Citrix Workspace experience. And I can create other workflows, like we said earlier, right? So I can bring in creating a ticket through Jira and create all the components, assign the tickets to somebody, whoever I need to. Again, all through that same experience. This other demo environment, just to kind of show you some other additional integration that Citrix Workspace has. This one does have actions, but it doesn't have the same feed of everything popping into the main screen. But it also has additional components for Salesforce and everything else, and even for a hosted on-premises customer-controlled application. But the last thing we want to show you over here is just the integration with Citrix Files. So again, most of our customers are fairly used to delivering virtual applications and desktops through the Citrix interface. Yep, that's all working. I'm not showing that specifically because that's kind of the stuff they've been doing forever. We wanted to highlight the new experience, the new interactions, the new workplace experience, so that it kind of collides and integrates with everything that's going on right now with work from home. Everyone's trying to optimize their experience, getting all their stuff done. So this is the experience for files. You can see it does integrate with other third-party solutions, Google Drive, OneDrive, on network shares that you may need to have access to through the same interface. So again, unique, centralized console for everything that the typical user needs to do on a daily basis. And that is the presentation for me, Bill.
Al, thank you so much. And let me go ahead and grab the presenter back. That was pretty awesome, sir. And let me go ahead and let's finish her off. So just to summarize, Entisys360 collaboration practice. We're experts with the Cisco UC Collaboration Suite. Experts with Call Manager, Communications Manager, new name, Unity. We, in the collaboration infrastructure, we have all the blades to the Swiss Army knife. We're remote access expressway experts. We know our way around the contact center, both the contact centers you see it now and as we migrate into the cloud. We're Cisco Cloud frontrunners. We know WebEx, WebEx calling, and WebEx Contact Center. And we've showed you our experience with messaging and cross-platform integration. And at this stage, what I'd like to do is I'd like to hand it over to my brothers in arms, Thomas Serber and Beta Jane, who are solution architects along with me here at Entisys360. Beta and Thomas, are there any key questions that we'd like to talk about and open up and look at?
Bill, I think we've pretty much answered them in line as they've been coming up right now.
All right, then if anybody I'm going to give everybody just another minute. Any last questions, go ahead and type them into the Q&A, because I think if we unmute everybody, we're going to have a cacophony. Go ahead. Grab it.
I just want to reiterate too, Entisys360 has all of the collab certifications and specializations across the board. So Entisys has invested heavily into making sure they've got the correct capabilities to be able to sell the collaboration platform, and we appreciate that. And just want to make sure that we highlighted that for you. Thanks, Bill.
All right. If there aren't any other questions, I'd like to wrap up. I want to have a just big shout out and big thank you to everybody who's helped put this together. Just appreciate the teamwork that everybody's had. And I'm going to go ahead and give you back 2 minutes of your day. Thank you very much, everybody. This recording will be available for you later, as will the presentation. Have the rest of a great day.